What is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. This is Dr. Hammerstein, and today we are doing a video comparison here between two very awesome flagship phones. In the first corner we have the Galaxy S22 Ultra, the latest and greatest from Samsung, and going up against the POCO F4 GT. So what we're going to do in today's video is of course go through the key specs and features on these two amazing phones over here, and also help you to decide which phone to get by the end of this video. So yes, without further ado, let's just get right into it. Okay, so let's start off with the prices on both of these two phones, and I will also include USD prices here as well. So the POCO F4 GT does start off at about 22.99 ringgit Malaysia for the base model. And if you want to get the higher spec model, it does go for about 24.99 ringgit Malaysia. We had some sales already, and I do see it coming for every month. So I can actually find this for about 20.99 ringgit Malaysia for the base model, and if you want to get the high spec model, you can get it for about 21.99 ringgit Malaysia. Going on to the Galaxy S22 Ultra, it does start off at about 50.99 ringgit Malaysia for the base model. And if you want to get the higher spec model, you can get it for about 58.99 ringgit Malaysia. Okay, so now let's talk about the build and designs on both of these two amazing phones. So starting here with the front glass over here, we have a Corning Gorilla Glass Victus, the Victus here, and Victus Plus on the S22 Ultra. Going on to the back, we also do have the Victus Plus on the S22 Ultra. Over here, it's made up of a glass, but I'm not too sure exactly what kind of glass is on the back. So it's still a very sturdy material, and of course we have the aluminum frames on both of these two phones. Going on to the button configuration, this is where it gets really interesting. So with the F4 GT, we have the volume rockers on the left side, and also your SIM card tray slot. And on the bottom, we have USB-C for your super fast charging. And also we have these quad speakers set up, two on the bottom and two on the top. And this is where it gets really interesting for the F4 GT. So over here, what we have is the pop-up triggers, which works really nice. It does have that nice clickish feeling. Of course, POCO did kind of clarify that you can actually go on and do this for the rest of your life as a fidget kind of activity, and it will not get damaged. We also have the power button here as well, which does act as your fingerprint scanner. And of course, if you want to talk about the buttons here, what is interesting is that you can use it definitely for your gaming sessions. And of course, you can just play around with it, which is of course cool. And of course, if you do not want to use it as much as you would in terms of gaming, you can actually customize this to open up certain apps like your camera or whatsoever. You can use it to click some photos. So it does give you a very nice feel when it comes to the buttons. Going on to the S22 Ultra, it's also not lacking in that department. On the left side, it's very clean, nothing on the left, and on the right, you have your volume rockers and also your power button. Because if we go on the top here, is where you have your top firing speaker, your down firing speaker as well. You have your USB-C for your fast charging, and also your SIM card tray slot. Of course, one thing that's really interesting here is, of course, the S Pen, which is the first time that's going to be found on the Galaxy S device. So we have here the S Pen up against the magnetic trigger. So really depends on you guys. If you guys are into more like gaming, I think this doesn't make a lot of sense. If you guys are more into work, I think the S22 Ultra does give you that feel. And also one more thing I want to talk to you guys about is actually how it feels in hand. So here we have more of a squarish design, but it also does have a slight curve here. So holding this is very sturdy, it's very nice to hold. And of course, if you guys want to use it for gaming, it's very even on the side, so it's very comfortable. Going on to the S22 Ultra, it's also pretty nice, I would say, because it does have a curved display, and also on the sides here as well. But one thing I really want to highlight here is this kind of squared edges. So if you want to hold it on your palm and use it for long sessions, I think it's a little bit uncomfortable. Even after so long, I actually kind of got used to it, but still it's something that I do want to highlight to you guys compared to the curve on the F4 GT. And going on to the displays on both of these two phones, both of them do have your nice AMOLED display, 120Hz, HDR10 Plus support, all that extreme goodness over here. Of course, with the S22 Ultra, it does have a peak brightness of 1750 nits. In terms of size, 6.8 inch compared to the 6.67 inch you're going to find on the F4 GT. To be honest, it's still very massive on both of these two phones. Not much of a problem at all. Over here, you can go up to 1080p. Over here, 1440p. So it does give you the Quad HD Plus display. And as we can see, in terms of the colors and in terms of the clarity, the sharpness, it's just really good on both these two phones. And I don't think you'll be disappointed with either one of these two phones. So now we're going to check out the speakers on both of these two phones. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about is the face and fingerprint unlock on both these two phones. So here with the S22 Ultra, it does have an ultrasonic scanner, and of course it works very fine, and you can use it even if your hands are a little bit wet. Because in terms of face unlock as well, as we can see, it works very fast, and you can use it. And going on to the F4 GT, so like I mentioned, you will have a side fingerprint scanner, so it works really well. Boom, you are right in. You don't have to worry about using it in the dark, because if you go to the face unlock as well, boom, we are right in. Works really fast on both of these two phones. Okay, and also one thing to note is that with the S22 Ultra, you do get an IP68 rating, which is something you don't get with the POCO F4 GT. Okay, so next thing here we'll talk about the battery and charging on both of these two phones. So here with the F4 GT, what we have is a 4700 mAh of battery, a dual battery setup to enable for that super fast charging. And here with the S22 Ultra, we do have a 5000 mAh of battery. But in terms of screen on time, I would say it's about the same. This one definitely does have a bigger, but it definitely does drain a little bit faster. Whereas if you put the times on both of these two phones together, I would say they're about the same. It does give you a full day use. Of course, one thing we'll talk about here is the charging on both of these two phones. So with the POCO F4 GT, what we are given is a massive 120 watt brick charge over here. So it's able to charge up from 0 all the way to 100% in just about 15 minutes. Of course, one thing I really like about this is this cable. So it's also made for gaming. So you can actually plug it in. It's also plug into the side here. So you can actually have your long gaming sessions and also power this bad boy up. But with the S22 Ultra, we don't really have that. But what we have is, we don't even really have a charger, so you have to go out and buy one yourself. You can buy the 15 watts or the 25 watts or the latest 45 watt charger. But to be honest, between the 25 and 45 watts, I will already save some money and get the 25 watt charger. What this one does have though is a reverse wireless charging and also a wireless charger on the back over here. So you're able to charge up your Galaxy Buds Pro, your Galaxy Watch, or any other phones, like including the iPhone as well. So yes, that's what you can get with the S22 Ultra. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about here are the internal specs on both of these two phones. So both of these two phones do have the same Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor, and over here what I do have is the 12 gigs RAM variant with 256 gigs of storage. So yes, both of them do have that massive storage option. Of course, you can go for the 128, and you can even go to the 512 on the Galaxy S22 Ultra series. Both of these two phones do not have a micro SD expansion slot, so you gotta choose your phones wisely in case if you guys are wondering about that. Of course, both of them do have your 5G support. And when it comes to the performances on both of these two phones, I've actually done a separate video comparison to actually compare the performances and also the benchmark test on both of these two phones. So I'll leave a link up above and also down below for you guys to check them out. And also one more thing that is of course very important when you're choosing your phone is of course the software side of things. And over here with the POCO F4 GT, we have the MIUI 13, and with the S22 Ultra, we have the One UI 4.1, both of them on top of Android 12. And of course, in terms of customizations and personalizations, I really like it on both of these two phones. You have your dark mode feature, you have your quick ball on the F4 GT, you have a lot of things you can customize with the always on display, the screenshot, and all these other things, which of course is really awesome. You can just have your 3 fingerprints over here, your 3 fingers over here. That's what she said. And of course, with the S22 Ultra, it also does give you a lot of stuff that you can customize. And one thing I really do like about this is of course the Samsung Pay, Samsung Pass. And of course, if you're into the Samsung ecosystem, it makes a lot of sense to actually go with this because it feels very uniform across the board. So in terms of the software, both of them are really good. But of course, with the POCO software, sometimes you will get some kind of bugs here and there, which is a bit hard for me to show you guys, but I did encounter some over here, especially when you're just swiping down the menu over here, which sometimes it doesn't really get the right spot because it does glitch out a little bit. And it doesn't really happen here with the Samsung device, which I've actually used since January right here in 2022. So last but not least, let us talk about the cameras on both these two phones. So on the selfie shooter, we can see that's centered on both of these two phones. And with the S22 Ultra, we are given a 40 megapixel sensor, f2.2, and it does have a dual autofocus and it can record up to 4K at 60 FPS. Going on here to the F4 GT, it does have a 20 megapixel sensor, f2.4, and it can record up to 1080p at 60 FPS. Now let's go on to the rear cameras on both of these two phones. So starting with the POCO F4 GT, it does have a triple camera setup, starting with a 64 megapixel f1.9 sensor with dual autofocus, and it does have your 8 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide lens with 120 degrees field of view, and a third camera sensor over here, the 2 megapixel f2.4 sensor. One thing to note is that this one does have your latest Sony IMX sensor, so we're going to see if the shots on here is pretty amazing or not, because this phone can record up to 4K at 60 FPS. So now we go on to the big boy over here, and it does come with the quad camera setup. Starting with the main lens at 108 megapixel sensor f1.8, does have your dual autofocus, laser autofocus, and OIS. Going on to the two telephoto lenses over here, the first one at 10 megapixel f4.9 can go up to about 10 times of optical zoom. It does have your dual autofocus and OIS. Going on to the next one here, which is the another 10 megapixel f2.4 sensor, can go up to 3 times of optical zoom. It does have your dual autofocus and OIS. And lastly, we do have a ultra wide lens over here with a 120 degrees field of view, and does have your 12 megapixel sensor f2.2, and it does have your dual autofocus as well. It can record up to 8K at 24 FPS. Now let's check out some shots on both these two phones and see which one would come out on top. Okay, so that is it between the POCO F4 GT and the Galaxy S22 Ultra. And of course, the ultimate question is, which phone to get? For me personally, I would go for the POCO F4 GT because it does make a lot more sense. For this price point, you can get about 2 phones over here and of course extra cash compared to the Galaxy S22 Ultra. If you just look at the specs on this, you're going to get same amount of specs, the same Snapdragon processor, same amount of RAM, all this other stuff. You also get the magnetic triggers over here, and of course if you guys are not so much of a gamer like me, you can use it for a lot of stuff as well, which of course is really nice, like opening up your camera app and all these other things. And of course, it's a very solid build and design over here. You have your nice glass aluminum frame, and of course a nice Corning Gorilla Glass filters over here. But of course, I am a little bit biased sometimes because I do use a lot of Samsung devices. I really like the cameras over here, so definitely I would want to maybe sometimes just pay a little bit more to get a better camera setup here. You have your S Pen feature as well, which of course is really helpful if you guys are into a lot of note taking, a lot of drawing, and of course a lot of heavy duty stuff as well. You just need to use the S Pen a lot. I would say this phone, it really does make a lot of sense. And of course, it does have also a very solid build and design overall, and a very nice phone, I would say, to recommend. But of course, at this price point, it's a little bit hard to say that this one is the ultimate winner because, like I mentioned, this is about more than double the price of the F4 GT. Of course, these are just my thoughts and my opinion. Do leave yours in the comment section down below. If you guys did find this video helpful and also want to see more of these type of videos, do click the like and smash the subscribe button down below for more videos like this in the future. Do also follow me on my social as well on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and here on YouTube at Dr. Hammerstack. So that is it. This is Dr. Hammerstack. Stay safe, take care, and wash those hands.